In UnitsPro, we have several different means by which we fetch and load the owner's design information for a specific job into UnitsPro. The preferred method is to establish an API or web service with the owner where we can automatically acquire this data and utilize wizards that will automatically set up the job and load the job. Alternately, either a designated person from the owner or the work group, if so designated, can set up the job and load the job. And then in this demonstration, the owner's project manager is going to set up the job and load the design. So we select Add New Job. Opens up a workflow where we walk through this process. Put in our job number. Pick our contract, which is going to be our blanket work. The work group's job number is not yet known. This is a blanket contract. It's going to be billed on units. Regions and divisions haven't been specified for this owner. Master project number may or may not be used by this owner. The description of the work is entered. Our address is entered. Our city, in this case is Mertens, Texas. Bring that up. Only zip code available for Merton is entered. At this point, our show up site information auto-populated. The reason it did this is because we're tracking our weather. So it picked up the lat long information for that zip code. And when time entry is used, the mid-shift after the time has been entered, UnitsPro will go out to a web service, acquire weather-related data for the prior day, and load that into UnitsPro such that on a day-by-day basis, all the weather information is available right here. It'll be on a weather tab and is very useful in trying to determine why jobs ran over or what issues are having out there relative to change order approvals. This billing information defaults in. We have this contract defaulted that billing can only occur on a completed unit that has been inspected. We've also designated that the inspector has approval rights on change orders. No retainage on this invoice, and again, it's a units bill. Our scheduled start and completion dates, these populate in right now. They're defaulted as today plus 14 and today plus 42 on these dates. Purely arbitrary and can be set or left alone and adjusted later. We go next. This shows us our owner role information. What's most important here is who's financially responsible for this job, the project manager, and who's responsible for doing the inspections and validating the change orders and billings. And that would be the lead inspector here. We've got those set as defaults. Now we can add our work groups. And this brings in all of our qualified work groups associated with this contract. But at this point, we're not going to assign a work group yet. We'll continue on. We can assign external organizations if we're using external inspectors or engineering firms or whatever that you want to have access to this job in UnitsPro. This is the specification book that we're using. It's the one assigned, so it just defaults in. And we finish. So typically to set up a job in UnitsPro, it takes 30 to 45 seconds. Now we're ready to go into our design. So we're going to go into the design. At this point, we could begin our design and manually add all the locations, and then manually add all the location details for each location. A bit time consuming and error prone. So we're going to go ahead and import this design. We have the job card in a PDF format. So we're going to go ahead and put that in, and we're going to parse it. So UnitsPro has just gone through and scrubbed through that PDF, looking for all the location information, and brought that in. And now we're going to go next. And it's going to go through and bring in the details for each location. So here's location 1. All the actions at location 1 are removals. These are the MUs, and these are the billable units. And here are the quantities. On the wire units, we automatically take the quantity on the job card times the span length. So in this case, it's 3 times 29 to be 87. Once we're satisfied with this, we can go next. If for some reason any of these units were not preloaded into UnitsPro and mapped to those billable units, we would have got a message here. And we would have had a button up here down here that would allow us to load and map these units automatically into UnitsPro. So we're good with this. We're going to go next. And all this is done in a temporary table setting. Nothing has actually been loaded into UnitsPro proper yet. But now we just did, when we went next, we added 57 locations and 288 location details to this job. So go ahead and close this. And it's now brought it into UnitsPro. So location 1, here's our units. Location 2, 3, and so forth. Once we have a quick view of this, we can go ahead and begin our design. And what UnitsPro is doing right now is going out and fetching all the pricing associated with all these units and their associated actions, and it's pricing the job based on the owner's internal values. So this is for estimating and accrual purposes. The project manager can then go through and take a look, and they can amend these design quantities. They can add additional units. They can delete units. So for the owner, this data is open for modification. If the work group had loaded this data, they would have seen the design quantity and an estimated quantity. On initial load, both the design quantity and the estimated quantity are equal. But for the work group, the design quantity is locked and the estimated quantity initially equals the design quantity. Now, if the work group goes through and makes any modifications to the estimated design quantity, that's going to initiate a change order. If the work group adds any units, the design quantity will come in as 0. The estimated quantity will presumably be non-zero, and again, that will trigger a change order. If the work group desires to delete a unit, the delete button for them for any items that were originally brought in is locked, but they can change their estimated quantity to 0, which is an effective deletion of that unit. So once the owner's project manager is satisfied with this information, they've gone through and done their review, they can go ahead and submit this design to whomever is responsible for approving it internally. And then once it's approved internally, it's ready to be sent to the work groups. So at this point, if we know who we want to send this job to, it's going to open up a transaction, and it actually prices the jobs based on the pricing unique to those billable units for each work group. So not only do we have the pricing in there as the owner as a basis for our releases and accruals and forecasting, each work group uniquely prices those units. You can see here, this job is very, very tight on value. So we could select one or the other here, or perhaps we could even send it to both. If we send it to both, then that puts it into a bid cycle in which they have to actually bid this before it's accomplished, released to them. But generally on a unit price contract, that's not the case. And often this is not where it's released to the work group. So we're not going to do it here either. In a later video, we'll show you the managed work group transaction, where the work management folks can get into UnitsPro and assign the work or transfer the work between work groups if it's been previously assigned but not started.